Hello everybody. Well, we're nearly getting to the end of our buckets now. There's only a few more to go. Today I want to talk about the illness bucket. This is a bucket that is going to affect your entire relationship if one or both of you are ill. Sometimes we meet the person and they are ill. They already have some illness or chronic illness. And so when we actually are first with them, we know what we're dealing with to a degree. We might not have lived with them, but we actually know the truth. We go in there knowing that in our life, this is going to be part of our life, and we are probably willing to accept it and to find ways to cope with it. However, living with someone who's got a chronic illness is quite different to just going out dating, because there will be a 24-hour window where you'll have the illness coming in and out, and it will actually make a difference if you have children, because if the person has an illness or handicap, then that will actually make it more difficult to work out how to get everything done. The illness can make it difficult also because you might have an illness which is going to progress and get worse, or if you're lucky enough, it'll just be one that's chronic and always going to be there. But it will actually go up and down. People who have chronic illness, it goes up and flares up and then it settles down for a while. If you're the person who's ill in the relationship, you're going to find it difficult because you don't want to be ill, of course, and it's kind of annoying, and you have to rely on your other person, and you can't always get everything done, and maybe you even have to get help. And you have maybe some guilt around that, which you shouldn't have because you haven't done anything wrong, but it's just normal. And you can actually feel quite sad about it too, that you can't get to do everything, and the partner has to do as much. Remember that they love you and they decided that they wanted to be with you, illness or no illness, so just make the best of it. If you are with someone who is ill or becomes ill, your life will change dramatically from being a single person who could pretty much do everything to now a person who's got someone else in their relationship, and then they have to always be thinking about the other person in terms of what you can and can't do with activities or how the house is designed. There are two sorts of illness. There's the illness that's chronic, and then there's also the illness that comes later on that you didn't know about, and you might then find out later that your partner has something, and then you have to adapt to that. These two are quite separate in themselves. One we knew about and we said yes, the other one we didn't know about, and we're probably still going to say yes, but it's going to be very, very different. A person could get also terminal illness, and this could last for up to 5 years sometimes. When people are terminally ill, it can take a long time, and that's going to have huge impact on your relationship and on all your buckets. It's pretty hard to have a lot of fun and have a great lifestyle when you've got someone who's in bed all the time or in a wheelchair because they're so sick. I think sometimes we're with people to be with them, to be their support team through this, and you can see it like that as well. We love them, but we're also there to help them through this process. If we have a person who has some kind of handicap, they might be deaf or partially blind, or maybe they've lost some use of their legs or arms, then that sort of illness can be accommodated as well. We will set the house up differently and we will work around it so that this works. When you have children, there often can be more help from the kids too. They'll often help, and you can often get a lot of assistance. These days there's quite a lot of assistance for families who are in these kinds of situations. People don't mean to be ill, people don't choose it. It really makes your life really quite terrible, but it just happens. It's life and it happens, and you need to, if you've married or with someone who was very well and now they're sick, you have to really adapt to it. This is your situation now and you have to try and make the most of it. It's going to affect everything, however, and many of the buckets won't work as well maybe as they used to. You'll have to adapt them because this bucket is actually on the empty side. Illness can also make people very moody and quite hard to live with. They can become quite cantankerous with the pain and also the frustration of being sick. So not only will you be dealing with your illness and then your bad moods perhaps, and depression, but also their illness and their bad moods and depression. And this is something that you really need to get support and help with, because it's all very well to have an illness, but when you actually feel bad too emotionally, then it's going to actually affect the relationship quite a lot. Remember that you love this person and you decided to be with them and to love and support them, and now you're doing that. It's going to be hard. If you're an older couple and the person gets dementia, that's also a very difficult illness to deal with. Any of those old age dementia type illnesses are going to make it difficult for you. And there could come a time too with your partner's illness, whether they're young or old, where you do need to put them into care because you just cannot provide a safe environment for them, and that's going to be pretty heart-wrenching. You have to really do what's best for them, and to a degree you, but there's going to be problems with that as well if you have to put people into care. Sometimes we have to do it for a while. Maybe they just need help for certain months or a year or something. But other times it's going to be a permanent situation, and that's going to really change your environment. Particularly now if you have been with that person in a committed relationship, and now they're not living with you anymore, they're in a nursing home or in some kind of hospital, and so you're not really in the relationship in the same way as you were. So you're living a single life and you're also living this partner life. Their actual real everyday life may not be with that person anymore. You might not see them except occasionally if they live a long distance away, or you might see them once or twice a week, but you don't actually live together anymore, and it changes everything. And if they're having any kind of dementia or deterioration of the mind, you actually lose them in that way too, which is so sad. The illness bucket is a difficult bucket. It really is. It can be manoeuvred around, and you can still stay with the person and be with them and make that choice. However, there's going to be huge gaps in your relationship now for various reasons, and you might want to fill those gaps up to almost shore up the relationship. So if your partner now can't do certain activities, it's okay for you to go off and do them. And honestly, in real life, some people who land up with their partner, particularly in a hospital with dementia or an illness that is going to be really ongoing, they do start to have other relationships outside that relationship, because it's going to be a long term and the person's not really there anymore, particularly with any kind of dementia or mental illness where they're not actually recognizing or knowing you. It's a really hard one, this bucket, the illness bucket. Do the best you can, but you really look after yourself if you're the person who's the carer. And if you're the person who is sick, be kind to the carer. They're doing the best they can. And it's no one's fault that you got sick. It's just the way it turned out. And now you need to make the best of it. The children are also going to be very affected. I know someone whose husband's been ill for 15 years with a type of motor neuron illness, and his children have been now visiting him all that time, and now he's very, very ill in a hospital, and they have to go and visit him all the time, and he's really, really sick. So the children have had to witness this deterioration of their father over the years. So make sure that you get help for the kids too, because remember, you're not the only one going through it. They're watching this, and it's going to have a huge impact on them, and in a sense they start to lose their mother or their father. If the illness becomes terminal, then you've also got that with the outcomes for you, if you're the one who's left, or the other person if they are the one who's left, and now the children only have one father or mother, and that's going to create another whole lot of issues for you to deal with as a family, because now the family is different. It's a really hard one, this one, the illness one, and some people seem to get dealt a really hard life with this one. But remember, at the end of the day, we love that person, and even when they're sick, we still love them because they're still there, and you just need to do the best you can and not be too hard on yourself or to be too hard on the person who's ill. Get as much help as you can from government help. And also, if you have family and friends who are willing to help you, you let them help you, because that's their way. They show love. And then later on in your life, you can always give it back to them or to someone else. It's kind of like a circle, isn't it? You give it to one person and then they give it to the next person. It's like the circle of love keeps going. And know that this is a bucket that will be affected, and just do the best that you can with it. That's all you can do. So I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.